The market froze. Bystanders stopped mid-step. Traders fell silent. Lying on the dusty market ground, groaning, was an elderly woman. Her wrapper stained from the dirt. Her headscarf half off, revealing graying hair. Tears welled in her eyes, not just from the pain of the kick, but the sting of public humiliation. Asterisk, what could cause such a shocking scene? Stay tuned to Innocent Stories to find out. Asterisk, towering over her was a young woman in a smart black top, ripped jeans, and sneakers that didn't belong anywhere near red market sand. Her dark glasses reflected the market crowd, but not the shame on their faces. Hands on hips, voice laced with arrogance, she spat the words that would soon echo across the internet. Next time, poor beggar, look at people's faces before you ask for money. You think everyone is on your level? You're lazy. That's why you're begging, the young woman said, bending closer to the fallen woman like a queen addressing her subject. My name is Nardia Abraham. I'm a software engineer at Innovative Hub. Have you ever heard of it? Of course not. Your poor children could never work there. The woman blinked up at her, stunned. I work at the largest tech company in Africa, Nadia added, tossing her braids back as she hissed and stormed off into the crowd. People whispered. Phones recorded. A tall young man rushed to the woman's side, helping her sit up. Ma, are you okay? He asked softly, brushing dirt from her shoulder. But Nadia didn't care. She was already heading toward the vegetable stand, her mind set on selecting the freshest peppers and chicken for her coconut rice. Asterisk, but what if this one cruel act was about to change her life forever? Keep watching Innocent Stories to uncover the shocking twist. Asterisk, what she didn't know, what no one in that market knew, was that the woman she had kicked was the mother of Jonathan Okoye, the billionaire founder and CEO of Innovative Hub. And by Monday morning, her world would never be the same. 3 months earlier, Nadia Abraham had always dreamed big. Born and raised in the crowded streets of Ajigan, she grew up in a face me I face you apartment where dreams were often swallowed by poverty. But not Nadia. She had the brains. She had the fire. And when she got accepted into Unilag on a full scholarship to study computer science, her mother wept with pride. Her father died when she was 11. Her mother sold oranges by the roadside. Her younger siblings looked up to her like a superhero. She had every reason to remain grounded. Every reason to remember where she came from. But all that changed the day she received her job offer from Innovative Hub. Not just any job, a software engineer role at the most prestigious tech company on the continent. With a 6-figure salary, a company car, a furnished apartment in Lekki, and an access badge to a place most coders only dreamed of. She had arrived, and with success came the pride, then arrogance, then cold dismissal of her past. First, she stopped picking her mother's calls unless it was late at night. She said it was because of meetings. She stopped sending money home as often. She now took boat rides instead of buses, ate sushi instead of rice and beans, and joined an expensive gym in Ikoyi. Then she stopped talking to her best friend from school, telling her bluntly, "You're no longer in my class." She no longer smiled at her neighbors or greeted elderly men at the bus stop. Instead, she would walk with her head high, designer bag in one hand, and tell anyone who crossed her, "Be careful who you talk to. I work at Innovative Hub." It was Friday. Nadia had just finished debugging a payment gateway code for a new fintech app. Everyone in her team congratulated her for her speed and brilliance. Jonathan, the mysterious CEO she had never met in person, even sent a thumbs up through his assistant. By 5:30 p.m., she grabbed her phone, tossed her ID badge into her bag, and drove out of the Lekki office with Afrobeat music booming from her car stereo. She was craving coconut rice, and no one made better chicken and peppers than Mama Chidinma at the market. She parked a little far from the entrance, locked her car, and strutted into the bustling market with her jeans hugging her legs and her shirt tied at the waist. She looked nothing like the people around her, and she loved that. As she passed through the stalls, ignoring greetings and cutting into queues, someone tugged gently at her wrist. "Please, my daughter," came the shaky voice of a woman in a faded wrapper and oversized blouse. "Even if it's just 100, I've not eaten since morning." "God bless you." Nadia froze. Her nostrils flared. "Remove your hand from me," she snapped, jerking her arm away, but the woman held out her hand again. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Please help me." The crowd began to notice. Nadia's voice rose. "Are you mad? You touched me. Do I look like your level?" She raised her leg and kicked her. The woman tumbled backward onto the dusty ground. People screamed. Some gasped. Someone shouted, "And she's old enough to be your mother." But Nadia didn't care. She walked over to her, bent down, and said the same words that would soon ruin her career. "This is Nadia Abraham, a software engineer at Innovative Hub, the largest tech company in Africa. Your children will never know what that feels like." She hissed again and walked away. But among the crowd, someone stood quietly filming the whole scene. Another person helped the woman to her feet and walked her gently to the corner of the market. And the next morning, that same woman disappeared from the streets only to walk into a mansion in Banana Island where a personal assistant waited at the door. "Welcome back, Madame Maraca," the assistant said with a bow. The woman who was kicked in the dirt now wore a silk gown and diamond earrings. And by Monday, she would be meeting her son, and the girl who dared to disrespect her. By 8:45 a.m. on Monday, the glass doors of Innovative Hub spun open. The receptionist froze mid-sentence as the woman stepped in. She wore a fitted emerald green lace dress that shimmered under the overhead lights. Her heels clicked softly against the marble floors. A pair of diamond earrings sparkled beneath her braided updo. Her dark skin glowed. Her presence carried elegance, power, and the kind of quiet dignity that made people instinctively rise to their feet. It was the same woman Nadia kicked in the market. But today, she wasn't wearing poverty. She wore truth. "Good morning, Ma." "You look familiar," the receptionist stuttered, rising from her chair. The woman smiled. "Good morning, dear. I'm here to see Jonathan Akoy. Tell him his mother is here." Her words fell like a thunderclap. Jonathan's mother. The receptionist blinked, scrambling for the phone. "Yes, Ma. Right away." Upstairs in the executive suite on the 17th floor, Jonathan Akoy was reviewing project timelines when the call came through. "Sir," his assistant said cautiously, "your mother is here. She says she needs to speak with you privately." Jonathan's brows knit in surprise. "My mother," he repeated, lowering his iPad. He hadn't expected her. Madame Maraca rarely visited his office without notice. She preferred her quiet home, her garden, her church meetings, and the last time she visited his workplace was during the company's 5-year anniversary celebration 2 years ago. "Let her in," he said. Moments later, the door opened, and his expression melted from confusion to admiration. "Mama," he smiled, rising from his chair. "John," she said warmly, walking into the office. He hugged her gently, sensing something was off. "Is everything okay?" he asked, scanning her face. She sat down in one of the guest chairs, crossed her legs, and looked at him with calm eyes. "I'm fine, but I need to see one of your employees personally." He blinked. "An employee?" She nodded. "Her name is Nadia Abraham." Jonathan leaned back slowly, confused. "Nadia, one of our front-end developers." "Yes," she said quietly, folding her hands on her lap. There was something in his mother's voice, controlled, deliberate, but not angry, more like disappointed. He pressed a button on his desk. "Get Nadia Abraham to my office. Immediately." Downstairs, Nadia was showing off a new hairstyle to her teammates when her phone buzzed. "Incoming call, front desk HR, hello." "Hi, Nadia. CEO's office, now." Nadia grinned as she stood. "See, I told you guys I'm going places," she said proudly to the others. "Maybe I'm getting promoted." She straightened her blouse, adjusted her ID badge, and walked like she was heading to meet the president himself. She knocked twice on the door, then walked in confidently, her heels echoing in the room. "Good morning, sir," she said, flashing her best smile. Then she turned to the older woman seated beside him. She smiled sweetly. Good morning, Ma. But the smile on Madame Maraka's face didn't match Nadia's. Jonathan leaned forward. Nadia, this is my mother. She asked to see you personally. Oh, wow, Nadia said, eyes wide. It's such an honor to meet you, Ma. Madame Maraka didn't smile back. She tilted her head. I think we've met before. Nadia laughed nervously. Ah, no, Ma. I don't think so. Maybe you've mistaken me for someone else.
No, Madame Maraka said, her voice still calm, but her eyes sharper now.
I know exactly who I saw. Nadia's smile faltered slightly. Madame Maraka reached into her handbag and pulled out a phone.
She tapped the screen, then turned it toward Nadia.
A video began to play. It was the market.
There was Nadia, clear as daylight, in her jeans and sunglasses.
You think everyone is on your level? You're lazy. That's why you're begging. Then the kick. Then the hiss. Then, my name is Nardia Abraham. I'm a software engineer at Innovative Hub.
Your poor children can never work there. Nadia's blood ran cold, her legs weakened, her mouth opened, but no words came out.
She took a step back, hands trembling. No, Ma, please. I didn't know it was you. Jonathan's face was pale with shock, his mother humiliated, his employee exposed. He clenched his jaw and stood. You kicked my mother, he said slowly, disbelief in his voice. Sirsa, please. Nadia dropped to her knees, tears spilling down her face. I didn't know. I thought she was just. A poor beggar. Madame Maraka said sharply, someone not in your class? Nadia wept. I'm sorry. I swear I didn't mean to.
You meant every word, Madame cut in, still composed.
You called me lazy.
You said I'd never have a child who could work at your company.
You kicked me like I was dirt. She looked at her son. Jonathan, this is the kind of person you've employed. Jonathan was still staring at Nadia. He shook his head slowly. We don't just hire for skill here, Nadia, he said, voice heavy. We hire for character, respect, kindness, integrity. Please, I'll do anything. I'll apologize. Jonathan pressed the intercom button. Jane, please come in. His secretary entered. Effective immediately, he said without looking at Nadia, terminate the employment of Nardia Abraham. Revoke all access. Clear her workstation. Nadia screamed. Please, Sir Jonathan, I'm sorry. Please. Madame Maraka stood and walked to the door. She paused. I'm not having you arrested, she said. Not because I can't, but because I want you to learn. You're brilliant, but your pride is poison. Let this fall teach you what life tried to whisper. She walked out without looking back. And Nadia, she collapsed right there on the cold tile floor, sobbing. Her dream job was gone. Her pride shattered. The fall had just begun. The news traveled fast. By lunchtime, the Innovative Hub office was buzzing. Some people whispered in shock. Others shook their heads, mouths tight with judgment. A few employees who had once felt belittled by Nadia quietly nodded as if justice had finally caught up. Nadia's workstation was cleared. Her ID badge was deactivated. The company car she had parked so confidently that morning, repossessed before she could even ask for a second chance. As she walked out of the tall glass building, still shaking from tears, her legs barely carried her. The hot Lagos sun beat down, but it was nothing compared to the heat of shame burning inside her chest. Just last week, she was the shining star. Now, she was no different from the people she once mocked. She couldn't even look the gate security in the eye as she passed. Madam, one of the younger guards said, scratching his head. Wet and sorry. What happened? But she didn't reply. She couldn't. Her mouth stayed shut. Her heart ached too much. Nadia couldn't even afford a ride back home. She sat at a bus stop under a faded Coca-Cola umbrella,
biting her nails as she checked her account balance.
6,120, that wouldn't even cover half of next month's rent.
All her plans, a new car, the Dubai vacation she bragged about, the iPhone 15 Pro she had pre-ordered, gone. What pained her the most wasn't even the loss of the job. It was how she lost it.
She remembered the market.
She remembered the look in Madame Amaka's eyes.
Not anger, but disappointment.
And worse, she remembered the quiet heartbreak in Jonathan's face when he realized she had humiliated his own mother.
Her heart twisted. What had she become?
She thought of her mother, her real mother, the one who still sold oranges by the side of the road. She hadn't spoken to her in 3 weeks because she felt too big. Nadia boarded a rickety Danfo bus, clutching her bag tightly to her chest as she squeezed in between passengers. The woman next to her smelled like palm oil and fried plantain.
Nadia winced. A few months ago, this was normal. Today, it felt like a punishment, but maybe it was what she needed. Back to reality.
When she got home to her mini flat in Surulere, the air inside felt heavy. Her framed offer letter from Innovative Hub still hung proudly on the wall. The branded throw pillow with the company logo still sat on her couch. She tore them down, sank to the floor, and cried.
The worst part of falling from grace isn't the landing. It's realizing how many people you hurt on the way up. The days that followed, the calls from banks came first.
Then her gym membership expired. Then her rent reminder came in with a 14-day warning. Nadia began applying for jobs like her life depended on it, because it did.
She rewrote her CV.
She trimmed down her LinkedIn headline. She sent out over 40 applications in the first week alone.
Most didn't reply. Those who did offered unpaid internships or junior roles.
She rejected a few at first, thinking they were beneath her, until her account dropped to 2,800. Then she started rethinking what was truly beneath her.
3 weeks later, Nadia walked into a small tech startup located above a bakery in Yaba.
The office space was tiny, just 2 rooms and a hallway.
The team was mostly fresh graduates and one overworked CTO with bags under his eyes.
But they gave her a chance. A junior software engineer role, no benefits, no car, no fancy building, just a desk, a laptop, and $80 a month. That was 5 times less than what she earned before. But she took it, and she said thank you humbly. One Thursday evening, after a long day of debugging a stubborn payment feature, Nadia stepped out to grab bread from the bakery downstairs. As she waited in line, someone tapped her shoulder.
She turned.
It was Taupe, her old best friend, the same Taupe she had cut off without explanation.
For a moment, Nadia froze.
Taupe stared at her. Her eyes didn't hold hate, just surprise and quiet sadness.
Taupe, Nadia breathed. I'm so sorry.
Taupe raised her brows.
You remember me now? Nadia nodded slowly. I never forgot you. I just thought I didn't need anyone anymore.
You don't say, Taupe said with a sad smile.
You told me we weren't in the same class. Nadia lowered her head. I was wrong about everything.
Taupe studied her face for a long second, then slowly nodded.
You've changed. I had to. They stood there in silence. Then Taupe did something that broke Nadia's heart completely.
She reached out and hugged her.
Tears filled Nadia's eyes. No words were needed. 2 weeks later, Nadia returned to the same market.
She wore a plain t-shirt and slippers this time.
No sunglasses, no pride.
She walked slowly between stalls, her eyes searching until she found her, sitting near the same corner, wearing a simple Ankara dress, surrounded by sellers. It was Madame Amaka, not in disguise this time. She had come with her church's outreach team to give food to some of the struggling traders. Nadia approached her slowly.
Good afternoon, Ma, she said softly. Madame Amaka turned and recognized her instantly. But this time, Nadia didn't wear pride or shame. She wore humility. I came to say thank you, Nadia whispered. And to say, I'm sorry again. You didn't deserve what I did to you. Nobody does.
The older woman looked at her for a long moment, then gave the smallest nod. "You've learned," she said quietly.
Nadia blinked back tears.
"I'm trying to do better," she said.
"You will," Madame Amaka replied. "If you don't forget this pain, you'll grow from it."
And just like that, she turned back to handing out bags of rice and beans.
But for Nadia, something had shifted.
She had started her journey down with a kick. Now she was climbing back up with every small act of humility, and life was watching.
3 months had passed since Nadia's fall. Gone were the days of tinted windows and elevator views. Now she took the stairs in a small startup building where the electricity flickered and the internet cut off without warning. Yet each keystroke she typed carried more meaning than ever before.
She was no longer coding for praise. She was building her character, a different Nadia.
Nadia had changed.
Not just in the way she dressed, although she now wore simpler outfits with less attention-seeking shine, but in the way she spoke to people.
She now greeted the cleaner before anyone else in the office. She helped junior interns understand things without belittling them. She even
brought food to the security guard who once offered her an umbrella on a rainy day, the same guard she had once snubbed. Her team started noticing.
"Is that really Nadia?" one whispered during lunch.
"She used to be so full of herself."
"I know," another replied, "but that Nadia is gone." The new Nadia didn't chase titles anymore. She chased kindness.
One rainy Thursday afternoon, as thunder rolled across the sky and water dripped steadily from the leaking roof outside her window, Nadia's Gmail pinged. Subject: Application for software engineer role. Her eyes widened. It was from Tech Cradle Solutions, a mid-tier company she had applied to 2 months ago and forgotten about. She clicked it open, heart pounding.
"Dear Miss Nadia Abraham, thank you for your application.
We are pleased to invite you for a second interview scheduled for next week, Thursday."
Her hands flew to her mouth. A second interview?
This wasn't just another startup. It was a reputable company with international clients and growth opportunities. The salary wouldn't match her former job, but it was a big leap from where she was. Excitement surged, but so did fear.
Was she ready? Had she truly changed?
That night, Nadia called someone she hadn't spoken to in months.
"Mommy," she whispered when the woman answered.
"Nadia," her mother gasped.
"Is this really you?" "Mommy, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry."
Her mother didn't speak right away, then softly, "I've already forgiven you." Nadia wiped tears from her eyes.
"I miss you," she said. "I miss you, too. Your siblings ask for you every day." "I want to come and visit this weekend," Nadia said. "Come. There's always food for you here."
That Saturday, Nadia boarded a public bus and rode all the way to Ajagunal. When she stepped out and saw the familiar dusty streets of her childhood, something in her heart ached and healed. Children still ran barefoot across the potholes.
Women still sold fried yam by the roadside, and the scent of home, of struggle and resilience, welcomed her back.
Her mother's eyes watered as she opened the front door. She had aged, but her love hadn't changed. They hugged tightly, and that evening, as they shared a plate of jollof rice, Nadia looked her siblings in the eyes and said, "Don't ever think you're less than anyone else because of where you come from." The interview Thursday arrived. Nadia stood before the mirror, wearing a modest navy blue gown and a soft smile. No flashy jewelry, just her, a pen, and the lessons life had written into her heart. When she entered Tech Cradle Solutions, the receptionist smiled.
"Good morning," the lady greeted. "Good morning," Nadia replied genuinely.
"You're doing a great job." The receptionist blinked, surprised.
No one ever said that. Nadia walked into the interview room where 3 panelists sat waiting.
To her surprise, one of them was a young man she recognized. It was the same young man who had picked Madame Amaka up from the ground in the market. The one who had helped the beggar while Nadia had walked away.
He recognized her too.
Their eyes locked. There was a long silence. Then he smiled. It wasn't a smug smile. It was warm, like someone who knew she had changed.
Miss Nadia, he said, extending a hand. Welcome. Let's begin.
When Nadia stepped out of the building, she wasn't sure if she'd nailed the interview, but she was sure of something else: she had earned her dignity back. She had apologized to those she hurt. She had returned to the roots she once rejected, and she had started giving back. Every Friday now, she sent 5,000 worth of groceries to a struggling widow near her new office.
She didn't ask for thanks. She didn't take pictures.
She just gave because, for the first time, she understood kindness is never beneath you.
What happens when the past comes calling again?
Stay with Innocent Stories for the surprising turn. One Tuesday morning, 2 weeks after the interview, she received a package.
No name on the box, just a gold embossed envelope. Inside was a neatly folded invitation card. Dear Nadia Abraham, you are cordially invited to the 10th anniversary gala of Innovative Hub.
Venue, the Grand Hall, Victoria Island.
Time, 6 p.m. Friday. Dress code, formal. Entry by invite only. Her hands trembled. Innovative Hub? After everything, why would they invite her?
Then she saw the initials at the bottom corner.
Ime Madame Amaka. Nadia sat down slowly, heart pounding. What did this mean? Was it forgiveness? Was it another test?
Whatever it was, she knew one thing. She would show up. But this time, not to boast, not to prove anything, but to walk in grace and face whatever was coming next.
Friday evening came faster than Nadia expected.
She stood in front of her small mirror, hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the sleeves of her long, simple black gown. No flashy makeup, no designer tags, just a quiet elegance that came from within. This time, she wasn't dressing to impress. She was dressing with humility. The Grand Hall, the gala venue, glowed like a palace. Gold chandeliers, velvet carpets, a sea of dignitaries, tech giants, and media personalities. Nadia stepped out of the cab she could barely afford, clutching the invitation in her palm like it was her last proof of belonging. The guards at the entrance looked her over but said nothing. Once they saw the card, they opened the gates.
Welcome, Miss Nadia Abraham, one of them said.
She almost laughed at the sound of her name again in such a place. Inside, familiar faces buzzed around.
Ascendancy rank, 1, old colleagues, ex-teammates.
Even her former manager was there, laughing with executives. Some noticed her, some stared.
Whispers followed. Wasn't that the girl who was fired? What is she doing here?
But Nadia kept her head up, not with arrogance this time, but quiet strength. Then the lights dimmed.
The host stepped up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Innovative Hub's 10th anniversary gala.
Applause filled the air.
The speech began.
Memories were shared.
Projects were highlighted.
Awards were given. And then the host smiled. Now, to close tonight's celebration, please welcome to the stage the founder and CEO of Innovative Hub, Mr. Jonathan Akoy. The crowd rose in applause. Jonathan walked in, wearing a sleek black tuxedo, his expression warm and composed, but Nadia's eyes widened because walking beside him, radiant in golden lace, was Madame Amaka. She looked directly at Nadia and smiled.
What could this moment mean for Nadia's future?
Don't miss the emotional climax on Innocent Stories. Jonathan stepped to the podium. He gave his speech, thanking partners, honoring mentors, and encouraging young tech minds. But then he paused. Before I end, he said, I want to share a story. A story about pride, kindness, and second chances. The hall fell silent. He began to speak, not with names, but with purpose. He spoke of a brilliant young woman who rose fast but forgot where she came from. He spoke of how her arrogance led to an unforgettable mistake, one that reached someone very close to him. He spoke of how she lost everything and how she found herself again. And then, for the first time, he said her name.
Nadia Abraham. Gasps rippled through the hall. Nadia froze.
I want to tell you all tonight, Jonathan continued, that redemption is possible.
Nadia made a mistake, but she didn't stay down. She owned it.
She learned, and she changed. He stepped away from the mic and turned to her.
Nadia, please come forward. She didn't move at first. Then, slowly, shakily, she rose.
All eyes followed her as she walked down the aisle toward the stage. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she held her head high, not with pride, but with grace. When she reached the stage, Jonathan took her hand.
Madame Amaka stepped forward too.
In front of the entire hall, she smiled gently.
You hurt me, she said softly. But you came back. You asked for forgiveness. You showed growth. That's what makes you stronger than before.
Then she turned to her son.
I think your company could use someone like that. Jonathan nodded. We'd be honored to have you back, Nadia.
But this time, not just for your coding skills, for your character. A stunned silence filled the room.
Then applause. Slow at first, then stronger. People rose to their feet.
Nadia stood there, unable to speak, her chest tight with gratitude. She had been kicked out in shame. Now she was welcomed back with honor. But the greatest gift she received that night wasn't the offer to return. It was the lesson and the chance to begin again with humility in her heart and kindness in her hands.
Nadia didn't take the same job back. Instead, she requested to return as a junior mentor for the company's Ethics in Tech initiative, where she now tells her story to interns and junior engineers.
And every Friday, she still visits the market, not to buy anything, but to serve. Because life had taught her a powerful truth: titles fade.
Looks deceive. But kindness always speaks loudest.
If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to Innocent Stories for more inspiring tales.